It is Monday evening, the 9th of May 2022. This skidmark of tonight is a bad one for me. I've looked at reports about the May Day parades in Russia, and I listened to some speeches. I also saw some really disturbing images of what happened to the Russian ambassador to Poland when he wanted to lay a wreath at the memorial. And I have read reports about Russians in Europe being prevented to participate in the memorial services, and I have to shake my head in disbelief. I cannot believe that it has come to this. No one in the world can deny the crucial role the Russians played in stopping the Nazis. And millions of Russians were killed in that war. But what is something that the world should take note of is the extent of the memorial services in Russia. Not only the big parade on the Red Square, but in the cities. And what is most impressive to me is the people that participate in the marches of the immortals. I don't think the West realize how deep this nationalist responsibility towards those people that fought for the freedom of Russia has in the Russian society. If you look at those marches of the people, you must also keep in mind that every one of those people walking there is walking with a photograph of an ancestor that was killed in that war. They keep those people's memory alive. They honor what they have done for those that can walk today. For that, you have to salute the Russian nation. It is absolutely mind-blowing to see these things. And when you start thinking about it, what it means, you have to be humbled. And by treating the Russians with so much disdain in Europe, it is a shame. But I have an old saying, karma is a bitch. The EU embarked on this vicious economic warfare against the Russian people. They started this economic war by claiming that they want to dislodge Putin. But not for one single moment did they think or mention the hardships that they will bring to the Russian people. And if you look at the parades of today, you have to ask yourself, what are the chances of upsetting that nation with economic sanctions? That nation has got one major advantage. They're self-sufficient in energy and they're self-sufficient in food. That is two major things. On the other hand, Europe is basically totally dependent on Russia for their energy, and in a large extent for their food and their fertilizer and a lot of other minerals and materials to make their industries running. Now the sanctions were vicious and they were without hesitation, but the Russians absorbed it and they were ready for it and they had a plan. They took a little bit of a knock, which is obvious. They had about a 10% reduction in their economic activity. But they're already recovering. The ruble were hit out of the park, peaked at 137 rubles to the dollar, and very quickly started recovering. And today, it is stronger than before. And it is sitting in the high 60s. While the euro is tumbling against the dollar. The European economy is shrinking very fast. There's already food shortages. Inflation is rampant, but still the European Commission in Brussels carry on with their madness. Now there is rumors, and I have a funny feeling that these rumors has got a lot of truth behind it. That Russia is going to hit back with sanctions in September. The Russians are notorious for being excellent strategic planners, and they are masters of chess. They allowed the West to make all the moves without moving back. The only real move that Putin did was when he stipulated that they must pay in rubles for their oil and gas. Now, the EU and the European Commission is talking about sanctions against Russian oil, and they're talking about getting rid of their dependence on Russian gas. You don't need to be an economic whiz-kid to realize that Germany, that depends for about 60% of their energy from Russia, there's no way that they can suddenly change to something else. But yet, that is what their leaders are promoting. The German industrial machine is going to come to a grinding halt. We're going to see poverty in Europe, most probably on the levels of just after the World War II. Now try and imagine you're a Westerner with Europe crashing like that. The other problem that we have is that some leaders in Europe are hammering on pushing NATO closer to Russia. I have to ask myself, where did these people study? Do they have anything like common sense? What do they think will be the immediate result if NATO should get into a fight with Russia? Europe will burn. The Europeans are making a big mistake if they think the Americans is going to protect them. They must understand the Americans look only after their own interest, and the Americans want to see a collapsed Europe, because with Europe out of the picture, it makes America's role in the West more prominent. This whole EU, America, or combined West as they like to call it, activity on economic sanctions against Russia is going to turn out extremely bad for the European population and for the American population. They are already struggling with inflation in America. Their GDP is shrinking. There is all those mysterious fires in major food processing plants, which I'm not going to say something about now. I want to read more about it. But it looks suspicious. But for Europe, I don't see a bright future for Europe. If the European nations, and by that I mean the European people, the citizens of Europe, do not wake up and remove those corrupt leaders, remove them by force if needed, they are not going to save themselves, because to depend on elections, that is a wet dream. Because the political parties, the prominent political parties, are all corrupt and in the pockets of the WEF. So it doesn't matter for which party you vote, you're going to get to the same destination. Things must change. Europeans must take back their independence. They must take back their independence. This European Union is not working. And the countries, the individual countries, some of them are being severely penalized for being part of that union. We have to go back to the days of national boundaries and where governments were governing for the advantage of their people, not some global thing that is far removed from reality of the person that stays in Germany, or from the guy that stays at the end of the coast in Spain. He is very far removed from Brussels. And those people in Brussels, I have asked many times, how are those people elected? And it seems to me that they are not elected, they are seconded there by the different governments. That is not working. But Europe is in deep trouble. There are commentators that reckon that by September, fuel prices in Europe can be 5 times what it is now. Electricity prices, same. And if Russia starts sanctioning, and the rumor is that the first thing they're going to do is going to close the gas taps. Now try and imagine Germany with the gas shut off. Try and imagine it. There are commentators that are of the opinion that people will die in Europe from cold. They will freeze to death, on top of starving, because by sending all these arms into the Ukraine, they are just extending the war, and the planting season is passing. The farmers, they don't want to plant. Where is the food going to come from? Europe, Northern Africa depends a lot on Ukraine and Russia for grain, which is not going to be there. And the cherry on the cake for Europe is by September, October, they are going to have a problem with immigrants from Northern Africa, because Northern Africa is going to be in desperate need of food. And if you think that the avalanche of migrants from the Middle East was bad, buckle up for the ones coming from North Africa. There are commentators that are of the opinion that up to 60 million immigrants can stream into Europe. How this is going to turn out, I don't know. But tonight the Europeans must sit back and think about their shameful conduct today. A very important day for the world, but very important for Russia. And they treated the Russians shamefully.